Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of MGR Unplugged. And as you can see today, we're actually on video for the first time, I think.
Well, you can see if you're watching. To our normal listeners, they wouldn't know this. But yes, we are uploading on YouTube now video versions of the podcast. It's nothing too exciting. It's just basically...
This is not deep fake. We're actually us. This is Manuel. This is David across the desk. And this is the way we've recorded for the last 20 plus episodes in the past. But for now, we're going to do a video as well. And as I said before, we'll have a few lineup of guests in the future, in addition to Dave and I doing our normal banter about business and life and everything else. But yeah, I thought this was going to be a good addition. It's actually our little studio, so we just added the camera. We'll be uploading these episodes to YouTube and all the traditional video channels, in addition to Instagrams and Facebooks and all that. So, but it's very exciting. I was actually today I was supposed to be racing and driving in my car, which you guys are probably familiar with, those who follow me on Instagram too. I was supposed to be at the Circuit of the Americas this weekend, and something happened. Life happens, so I couldn't make the trip. So here I am, my toy car instead of my real car. But we'll get to that some other time, and I'll give you more insights of the world of racing. In fact, some of the guests that I plan to have next year are actually pretty interesting people in the Porsche world and automotive world in general. So.
But now you get to spend your Thursday with me instead.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. But it's good, David. It's good to be back. Life happens. You know, I'd rather be racing, like this bumper sticker says. But I'm here with the podcast. It's fine. So anyways, today I think it's almost the end of the year as far as business goes. In fact, aside from the e-commerce and everything that we continue to work heavily for the last 2-3 weeks, everything else seems to be slowing down as far as normal, regular course of business. People are planning their vacations, and obviously they want to say goodbye to the year and get ready for 2020, new decade, actually starting next year. So
I'm looking forward to, not this weekend, but the following weekend is Super Saturday, as they call it. That's basically the last Saturday for all selling.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But that's still before Christmas, right?
It's Saturday the 21st.
Okay, yeah.
That is typically the last day you can order anything online. It depends. Some people have to ship a little earlier. But basically, this next week is the end of our holiday season craziness. So I'm looking forward to relaxing. The Christmas is on a Wednesday this year. So
I know,
that
it's
means
weird. Yeah.
Most people are going to be off Thursday, Friday, I'm going to assume.
Yeah. Some people are going to be off also before Christmas, the weekend before.
So basically, that whole week will be off week, and I'm looking forward to it. We don't get Thanksgiving weekend off like a lot of people do, because we're working the whole weekend. But
I know.
That's part of the game. That's what you sign up for. So
did you sign up for this?
Yes. When I signed my contract, it says Thanksgiving Day included.
That was probably the fine print, right? The one that you never find. The terms and conditions, I just scroll down forever, and you check the box and just me over this, and then it says, "Oh, you're going to be working on Thanksgiving."
Well, it's just like,
I give thanks for it.
NBA players. I love the NBA, and one of the best days of the year for basketball, Christmas Day. I mean, they don't get Christmas off.
We were talking about that the other day, actually, Thanksgiving, when we were working, and we said, how many people actually work on Thanksgiving? We're watching TV. You have parades, you have all these things, and there's a lot of people that actually...
A lot of people like work on Thanksgiving because they get paid overtime. So
yeah,
they
too.
Can
You're in
money.
that kind of business. Yeah, you get paid overtime, double time, holiday. But being a holiday, it really, there's a lot of people that work on holidays, weekends, whatever. That's how the industry works. I mean, especially in the entertainment industry.
That's okay. Work is good.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm sure they take Monday or Tuesday off, and we're all working too.
So speaking of entertainment,
yes,
this week we were going to do we're going to take a break from hardcore business marketing.
Finally,
we've done that the last few episodes. If you want to hear all about that, you can go back to the last few episodes. We're going to do a little entertainment end of year recap.
Entertainment Weekly. I think there's a show that is called that.
So we wanted to start off with movies. I was going to give my top 3 movies of the year, and then you're going to give some of yours.
Go ahead. I think we both have a few. I mean,
I'm more of the cinephile, but you went to school for film, but I feel like these days I'm actually more of the cinephile than you are in terms of wanting to watch smaller movies, let's say.
Okay.
I was trying to think what was my best movie of the year, and There is a new movie that I have not seen yet with Adam Sandler, and I'm not an Adam Sandler fan, but he actually is doing a dramatic role for the first time in, I don't know, a decade probably.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty good. I haven't seen it yet. But I was having a hard time deciding between one, Quentin Tarantino's newest movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Do you know the acronym for that one?
O-U...
Okay, forget it.
Okay. O-U-T-H.
I saw it one day. I was reading something about that movie, and all of a sudden they had the acronym. And it took me a while to figure out what the heck was that. And then I said, oh, they're just making the acronym for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's like, Jesus.
So for me, it's between that and another movie, a Korean smaller movie called Parasite, which...
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I thought was really, really good. I went into it completely blind. I only went to see it because I saw...
You cannot go into a movie blind.
Well, okay.
That will be a bad thing.
Very good joke. Very good.
Yes, I had to jump in.
No, I went into it without knowing anything about it.
That's different.
And
it's like you do a concert, you say I was completely deaf, and it's like, why?
You don't say that when you go to a concert. That's true.
Right.
But no, I think if you haven't seen it, it's better to go in... That's why I don't really want to say much about it. It's better to go and not know anything, because it's one of those movies where I don't even want to say anything. Really, just it's very plot heavy. It's the type of movie that's very plot heavy. So anything you know about the plot is going to make it less enjoyable. So if you haven't seen it,
it's still in the theaters, or is it off?
It might be. I saw it like a month ago. It might be.
Any big stars on it?
No, it's a Korean movie. It's by Bong Soon-ho, I think is his name.
Subtitles?
Yes, subtitles.
Ouch.
I'm not a big subtitles guy, but it was well worth it. If you're a movie fan, go watch this movie. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was more of your typical big Hollywood movie, big stars, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt. Is very good. Tarantino, I think most would agree, is one of the great directors of our time. Another great movie. If I had to rank it, I was thinking about this before the podcast. Like, where would I rank it all-time Tarantino movie? Because he's had 9 now. I had a hard time because I still think Pulp Fiction is
Pulp
his best.
Fiction is the one that
even though obviously
defined Tarantino.
I still think it's his best, honestly. I really like Inglourious Bastards. Django Unchained. A lot of people like that movie. I like it. I don't love Django Unchained. I don't think it's his best movie. I don't know. I think this might be.
I like the Kill Bills, the first one.
I like the first one. I don't.
The second one was a little bit of a stretch, but I don't know. I mean, I like martial arts, and I saw just seeing Uma Thurman fighting and all that stuff was pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't really like. I really like Reservoir Dogs, but that movie is really old, and for what it was, being his first major film, it's great, but I don't think that it is quite as good as his newer movies. I think this might be his second best movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is good. I mean, it's one of my top movies of the year, obviously, but I think it was a bit too long. And actually, I just heard that they're gonna come up with the digital cut, whatever, which is even longer. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what is added to the movie from the theater release version.
See, I think it.
I don't know exactly.
I actually didn't think it was too long. I thought it was about a perfect length. I actually thought it could be a little longer. I felt like they cut.
Really?
I felt like they cut some things that. There are a couple times in the movie. I think most people have probably seen it by now. It came out over the summer. If you haven't, definitely go see it. But there's a couple parts in the movie that I thought. I kind of was trying to put things together. I was like, wait, what exactly is going on here? And I felt like it felt like they might have cut some things due to length because it's already, I think it's, what is it, 2.5 hours or so?
Yeah, it's, under 3, but still long. Yeah.
So I think they cut some things. I don't know. We'll see in the new cut if there's anything new. But I really want to rewatch it because I only saw it once and I wanted to kind of forget about it and come back to it.
Yeah. No, you've seen it. I mean, I've saw it twice in the theater actually, and on the second time, I can tell you, it has so much. For me, I mean, I actually lived in some of that era, with the Steve McQueens and the Bruce Lees and all that. And
okay, that's an example. The Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
He shows up for like one scene and then he's gone. I was a little confused. Why have a star actor like that for one scene? He doesn't even really say anything, and then he's just what's his name? The guy who's in Billions played Steve McQueen. The guy who plays Axelrod in Billions. I forget his name. Anyways.
Yeah. It's Damian Lewis.
Damian Lewis, yeah. And but I saw a big name actor like that. I thought he would have a bigger part, and he was there for one scene?
They just tried to give you a quick glimpse of the era, of the Hollywood era, once upon a time there, with all the stars and how they gather. And it was obviously, this is contrast with the way it is now, obviously, that now everybody's in social media and all that stuff.
The most impressive part of the movie is how much work must have gone into all those cars, all the buildings, just everything.
The Hollywood vintage. And the LA of Hollywood, basically, of that time. But yeah, I mean, I saw it the second time, like I said, and then the second time I saw it, actually, I was surprised at how much I missed the first time I saw it. And I mean, I was there. I think, didn't we see it together the first time? I forgot who.
Yeah, we went together the first time.
Yeah. And,
I've only seen it once. So I'm gonna definitely rewatch it soon.
Yeah, and then I will probably watch the new version, the released digital version, or streaming, whatever comes on, with the extra footage or something to see. But no, it was definitely a good movie. I mean, it's one of the I think it's my top movie for the year too. And obviously, as far as acting, I mean,
Brad Pitt was really good.
Yeah,
in it.
I mean, he definitely carried the movie, and. So, I mean, I think the movie is definitely a contender and a top movie for me. My other movie, I mean, I think for me, the top between first that you had, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the other one would be...
I actually had Parasite. I think...
Oh, Parasite was
as much as I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Parasite was a more original movie. So I'm going to give it that slight edge. Like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a good movie, but it's not necessarily something I've never seen before, Parasite is like nothing I've ever seen before. So I'm going to give it that edge. But they're both really, really good. I would watch them both again.
My 1B, if you were... I don't know if I have a 1 for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I definitely have Ford versus Ferrari as one of the top movies as well.
Really?
I mean, it's probably because, again, I'm a
racer.
Car guy. I'm a racer, I'm a car guy, and I'm a Ford guy. I've been all my life.
I really like that era of cars.
I raced a lot of the Mustangs and the Shelbys and all that myself. I'm very familiar with the story with Carroll Shelby, with Le Mans races in the 60s when Ford went there. In fact, we have Bondurant School over here with Bob Bondurant, who was also involved with the program later on with the Daytonas and all that. Even though I knew pretty much most of the story, and actually I'm familiar with the tracks that they went to. They were filming at Willow Springs in California, a track that I've been many times racing and shooting and everything. It was a good movie. I mean, the only thing of the movie that I didn't quite that I would have done a little differently is that they spent all the time leading up to the race, to the first event, or the first Le Mans race, where Ford went there to beat Ferrari for the first time. But then Ford went there and won 4 times in a row, which is basically the last time an American car won in Le Mans.
Right.
And I thought it was going to be a little more of, hey, we accomplished this, but it wasn't a one-off. It's kind of like in the championships when you say, okay, this is a one-and-done. No. We went there and we actually won. The first time might be a surprise, but then we won the second time, the third time, the fourth time.
But I disagree because Christian Bale, what's the real guy's name in the movie? The racer?
Oh, Ken Miles, yeah.
Ken Miles, he dies. And
yeah, but they went with...
Yeah, but
Gurney
they say it at the end, at the end credit when it ends. They say they won the next 4 years, whatever. But the whole movie is about Ken Miles and Matt Damon's character, Shelby.
Well,
and so I thought that...
Yes and no. I mean, it's...
Well, I mean, it is. I mean...
It's Ford versus Ferrari. It's not Ken Miles' biography.
I know, but it's kind of like... See, I disagree because it goes to that triumphant, okay, they won it, they beat Ferrari, and it's like, yes, they won more times, but that's In the real world, yes, you want to like show that you want not a one and done, but really in a narrative structure, I think it's better like, okay, we won it, and then it tragically ends with the guy dying, and that's the end of the movie. Because it's a movie. It's not like, I get what you're saying from a racer standpoint, like, oh no, they didn't just win one, they won 4 times. But from a narrative standpoint, I don't think the average moviegoer cares. I think that they just want to see a good movie, and that is really the climax. They win it. It's no different than like any sports movie where you win the championship at the end. You know, like, okay, maybe they won more championships after that.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously the first one was a little bit of a surprise. You know, like Ferrari. You even see Enzo Ferrari there on the balcony of the top, like all proud of his team, and then he's basically all pissed off. I mean, the whole story of the movie is about the rivalry and how Ford showed up and then tried to basically just beat Ferrari, who pretty much owned Le Mans up until then, you know. But I don't know. I mean, I thought it was going to be a little more like I was at the movie. I didn't know anything. I mean, I know the story of the movie, but I didn't know anything about how it's going to end. And the more the movie was progressing, at the time was going by, because it was also a long movie. I think it was 2.5 hours or so.
I did think that movie was too long.
Yeah, I think so too. But when I was looking at that, it's like, wow, we're already 2 hours into the movie. We're not even at Le Mans yet, at the first event. I was like, how long is it going to be if it's going to be the second, the third, the fourth? And then I realized that they only did the first one, you know.
Yeah, but they spent like what, the last half hour of the movie at Le Mans? What more do you need? I mean, were you going to show them going around the track 5 more times?
No, like you know, saying, okay, Ken Miles, who was the controversial driver, whatever, rebel, you know, kill himself in an accident in testing or something, and then they went with Gurney, and then because I mean. But anyways, that was just my opinion. But despite that, I mean,
the weirdest part of the movie to me was Lee Iacocca, the guy who played him. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that fit very well. I forget the name of him. He's in The Wolf of Wall Street too. Yeah, the drug dealer in The Wolf of Wall Street with the beard. Because he plays Brad in The Wolf of Wall Street. I don't remember the actor's name, but he's like a very buff dude. He's a good actor. It's not that I don't think he's a good actor. I just thought he didn't quite fit Lee Iacocca. To me, I thought that was a little weird because I didn't. When I was watching the movie and he said, "Hi, I'm Lee Iacocca," I was like, kind of like, "Oh, that's Lee Iacocca." And if you're the average moviegoer who doesn't know who that is, it's fine. But as someone who knows who that is, he was the
president of Ford back then, and then obviously, as you know, he became the president of Chrysler too. I mean, the CEO of Chrysler. So I mean, he was a very automotive. Business person, you know,
and I thought he was a little written subdued. Like in the movie, he was not like Shelby was the main leader, and Lee Iacocca was just kind of following his lead, you know?
Right, because Shelby was the designer. I mean,
but in real life, Lee Iacocca is a strong leader, and I thought they didn't really play that up. I mean, just little details like that. I get it. It's a movie, so you always have to change things to fit the narrative.
Yeah, but keep in mind that Lee Iacocca didn't have the experience in racing. And that's what Shelby and Ken Miles did have. So Ford made all these beautiful cars, all the history where they were like family cars, sedans, this, that, but they had zero racing experience. And that's when they went to Italy and they went to the factory and they started seeing all those Ferrari racers. And they were kind of like eye popped, like saying, wow, this is like a race factory. Because Ferrari builds race cars first. And then they say, okay, we're going to make a version for the street so people can race them. Ford never had that mentality. Ford is basically family cars and grocery getters, whatever it was doing, but it was not making any sports cars or anything. It was just cars. Whereas Ferrari's mentality was like, we build race cars. We're here to race. And then everybody else is just buying a sports car, but forget about it. They will never make a car like a Ford with 4 doors or anything. There was no 4-door Ferrari. There was no Ferrari with a big trunk or anything. It was just race cars. So that was the whole thing. And then when Ford came out with their own design, the first time they displayed the GT40 or the original GT40, they were like, wow, this is, and then trying to fit the engine. And that was the whole dynamic.
Okay.
But I mean, it was good. I mean, so that's, the other one that we have on our list that we just watched, 2 weeks ago, is the Netflix Irishman.
Oh, yeah.
Martin Scorsese.
That's right.
I really liked it.
It was very good. It was long. I had not. There were I'm gonna go spoilers because I feel like most people have probably seen it by now. And if you haven't,
according to Netflix, like the first weekend, like 25 million people downloaded.
I'm gonna go spoilers. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Stop watching.
It's a long movie. Come back. But the first act was very good. I definitely liked the first act, but then that kind of, I guess, the second act when it's the whole basically Jimmy Hoffa, who's played by Al Pacino, and De Niro, and basically the mafia or mob is telling De Niro, "Hey, tell Jimmy to give it up." The Teamsters, and it's like, okay, they have the same conversation 5 times. Hey, De Niro to Al Pacino, hey, you can't do this. They're gonna kill you. No, I'm gonna do it. I started this. I'm gonna do it. He goes back to the mob. Oh, he won't listen to me. He won't listen to me. Then they say, hey, he'll listen to you. Go tell him. Okay, hey, Al Pacino. They had that conversation 5 times. I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay.
I can imagine when they were filming the movie, and I mean, it's like Martin Scorsese. It's like he forgets about movie standards or
because this is a made-for-Netflix movie, and it was only in theaters for like 2 or 3 weeks.
It was released in theaters for a little bit, but it's one of those things where he says
basically
to the editor, just put everything in.
Netflix.
I don't even know if they cut anything out of that movie. If they come out with it's 3.5 hours.
It's 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. I mean, that's. I don't know. I mean, it's like a football game, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
And if you had edited a movie, and then once you finish your final edit with the credits and everything, you say, okay, I'm going to give it a quick review. It's like, forget it. You need to go back, take a whole week break, and then come back fresh and watch the entire movie. Make sure every cut makes sense because it's hard.
I think it's pretty easy to cut a nice half hour off that movie, and it would be a nice 3-hour package. But the problem is, because it's a Netflix movie, I think Netflix definitely was not going to tell Scorsese what to do. And they basically said, here's a ton of money. Go make this.
Yeah, and they have a huge cast, too.
It was the biggest budget movie Netflix has ever done, I believe.
Oh, well, it has to be.
So it was a good movie. It was good. Not Scorsese's best, definitely not. But obviously, listen, Scorsese's a great director. You can't expect every movie to be his best.
The only thing I didn't like very much is the effects with the de-aging and all that. I mean, that was kind of...
Why did they make De Niro's eyes blue? That was what threw me off, because his eyes are not blue.
Right.
When you get older, your eye color doesn't change. That's what I didn't understand. I was like,
it almost looked like he was wearing this... it was like this,
like the fake contact
lens. When they put
to
this...
me, I thought, okay, I thought everything looked good except the blue eyes, and I said, why are they?
But not only that, I mean, like
it wasn't terrible.
It just kind of looked to me. It was weird. Maybe it's because I'm used to seeing De Niro. I actually saw. I mean, I don't know. You remember Raging Bull?
Well, I mean, in Taxi Driver, he's super young.
Yeah, I know. But Raging Bull is the movie. I mean, I love that movie. It's also, by the way, one of my favorite movies of all time. And he played Jake LaMotta, the boxer. And in that movie, this is before there were heavy effects. I mean, that movie is, I don't know, like early 80s or something.
Which came out first, Taxi Driver No, Taxi Driver came out before Raging Bull.
Oh, yeah.
Taxi Driver I really like Taxi Driver.
But Raging Bull, in that movie, Robert De Niro gained and lost about 40, 50 pounds in this just for the movie. I mean, they were like the fighter Jake LaMotta out of shape, and you can see him like, bare chest, like fluffy belly, all that stuff, and then you see fully trimmed when he's fighting, and obviously you see him with all the bumps and bruises and everything else. But that was a fantastic movie, and Robert De Niro had a kick-ass role there with his performance. He was probably the first actor that started doing like this physical transformations just to fit the role. After that, a lot of actors, even Christian Bale has done a lot of that stuff, but a lot of actors have gone through extraneous training, overweight, underweight, beefed up, not beefed up, to play different stages of their career or their role throughout the movie, and that's very challenging for the actor, obviously. But in this case, obviously, because it was even more challenging, like the aging and de-aging, all that. I mean, they started with the current, old De Niro or Joe Pesci and all those, and then they're gonna go flashback, and then they make them look so young, and where they are actually no young. It's easier to make a young person old makeup wise than to make an old person young. So I think that was in some cases a little bit of throw up for me. Like it was like wow, this kind of looks a little bit weird, but it's fine. I mean, the story is good, and I really enjoyed the movie. It was long, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. The truth is that the ending, again, spoiler, but the ending is kind of sad because it's basically everybody gets old and dies. And it was almost like a mirror of real life because, I mean, Scorsese's in his 70s. I think De Niro's in his 70s. basically all the actors in the movie are getting very old, and it's like this might be actually the last big movie we ever see from these guys like together. You know, they're basically the older generation that they were the 80s stars, 80s and 90s stars, and now they're basically fading out. And I hope they have many more great movies.
They'll make more, but that'll be close for them.
But this type of movie where you get Pacino and De Niro and Pesci, all these guys together with Scorsese directing, I don't know if we're going to see another movie like that. Yeah. And it was kind of sad at the end when they all get old and die. And it was almost like a metaphor of like, oh, this is the end of these guys' careers too, you know? It was kind of sad. But no, it was a good movie. If you're a movie fan, go watch it. Because again, it might be the last time you see a great movie with all of these stars in it. Yeah. The acting was very good. It wasn't the best performances out of all these guys, obviously, of their careers. But they're still pretty good overall.
I'll say, I mean, Al Pacino to me was not his best performance. He was too much of the same type of things that we've seen before. But De Niro, Pesci, I mean, those guys definitely was great. So
the best part of the movie to me, though, or parts, was that it was very gritty and real, because basically when De Niro's like killing people, it's not like some big action scene. It's like a very brutal, like he walks up to a guy and shoots him in the head.
Shot in the head.
Or even when Al Pacino, like you build up to him killing Al Pacino for an hour in this movie. It takes an hour to build up to it. And then it's literally, they go into a apartment, Pacino says, hey, let's get out of here. And then he shoots him in the back of the head. And it was done. That was it. That was the whole, you build up for an hour, but it was like, in a way, it's almost not satisfying, but I liked it because it was so gritty and real. Because that's how it is in real life. You know, you expect like some shootout, fancy action scene, driving car. No, it was like walk in a room, shoot a dude in the head, and walk out. And that's the end.
Not only one, they shoot in the head like 3-4 times. Like it's like if as if one bullet is not enough, they go like boom, boom, and they also move the gun forward, like giving a little more speed to the bullet. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
My fourth movie, my wild horse. That I know you did not see, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't see, because it's an animated movie, was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Not the real-life Spider-Man. It was, what was it called? Spider-Man... whatever. The one where he goes to Italy. That was not that good. I didn't really like it that much. It was boring, honestly. I'm talking about the animated Spider-Man movie that came out in July, or no. It came out in March or something, I think. Anyways... I would recommend people go see it because the animation in the movie is so good. I've never seen... It might be the best animated film I've ever seen. I mean, it is so good. When I watched it, it's like watching a moving painting is the best way I can describe it. It's like, it's not like 3D, like computer generated animation. No, because after I watched, I was like, how did they make this? They hand drew every single frame in the movie, like old school animation. The best, I think it might be the best anime movie I've ever seen.
Maybe, yeah.
And the story was good too.
Previews and things, but not the movie.
It was really, really good. The soundtrack was really good. I don't know if you know that song. It was with Sway Lee and Post Malone. I really like that song too. Anyways, that's my dark horse. I think a lot of people probably didn't see it because it was animated. It was really, really good.
Yeah, the one movie that I think is because we were both traveling, but we missed the opening, is Joker.
I didn't see Joker.
I wanted
to see it, but then I heard a lot of people saying exactly what I thought it might be, which is it's basically Taxi Driver, but with the Joker instead of De Niro.
Oh, really?
Basically, a guy who kind of goes crazy and is like a very isolated person and then just starts like killing people at the end, which is basically what Taxi Driver is. And I was like, this movie seems like it's going to be Taxi Driver, but with the Joker. And when I started seeing reviews, people said, yeah, it's a good movie, but it's Taxi Driver with the Joker.
It's funny that...
And so I'll watch it, but I haven't seen it yet.
You can tell when you go to a theater and you see a sign and it says, for kids, like...
Yeah, that was stupid.
Joker is not what you expect. It's not
the outrage over Joker I thought was stupid. It's just a movie, people. Get over it.
I know. All right, so we're done with the movies. Any, I don't even know. Usually for Christmas they have obviously Star Wars is coming up.
Yeah,
next
I'm not
week,
very excited.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm not either.
Because the last one sucked.
Yeah, and the Han Solo movie, the in between or whatever, was not that good.
That was really boring. All of
I don't
sorry.
know. Yeah,
I'm a big Star Wars fan, but and I'm a Disney fan as far as their business side, but they've totally screwed it up. All the Disney movies are so boring. All episode 7, it was just A New Hope again. I said that as soon as I watched it. I said, oh, really? They're blowing up a Death Star again? Fine, they played it safe. Then Rogue One, very boring. Yeah. Han Solo, I was super bored.
Yeah, that was the
last movie. I wasn't bored, but I thought it was just not good.
Right.
And now we have a new movie, and it's like, okay, I'm not that excited. I'll watch it.
Yeah, I know that they reveal the trailer. They have the tickets for sale. It comes on the 20th, I think.
This is what I don't understand. So J.J. Abrams does the first movie in the trilogy and the last movie, but they give the middle one to Ryan. What's his name? And why? Why do you have a different person directing and writing the first and third, and not the second? And even J.J. Abrams basically said he kind of had to pick up the pieces from what he did in the last movie because he killed the main villain in the second movie.
So let's, since you mentioned Disney, Disney Plus just started to, right? Didn't it already start? Yeah. It's already streaming, which basically...
I do like The Mandalorian. I have watched it. It's good. My only critique of it, and I get what they're doing, it's too much action for me. I don't think you've seen it, but for me... It's too much action. I like the best parts of the show for me are when people are not shooting each other and it's just like good storytelling. But they have to put in the action because it's Star Wars and they want to get a lot of people to watch it. I actually think they should cut back on the action, especially because I hate when movies have the one guy against 30 dudes in a shootout and he kills them all and he comes out unscathed. Yeah. It does that like once an episode. There's a big battle where he kills 15 people.
You haven't seen. I don't think you've seen it, but John Wick. Do you like those?
I saw the first one. I have not seen the other ones.
That's the best one. If you see the third one, you're talking about one guy that kills. I don't even know how many people are killed in that movie by Keanu Reeves or John Wick. I mean, it's incredible. It's like a slugfest on that one.
My only defense of John Wick is when you go to see a John Wick movie and you know exactly what you're getting.
I mean, I'm a fan of the first one. The second one was a little bit there. The third one, I was like, good Lord. I mean, I like action movies. I like fight movies, good fight scenes. That one was just like way too much.
I feel like the problem with John Wick is that how many different ways are you going to figure out how to murder someone?
I know.
And you have to come with an original way. And the first one was really good because they had some very original like kill scenes.
Yeah, and the whole underground, world of the story basically. But it's like a Jack Reach, but like taken to the extreme. Yeah. It was,
so that's my critique of The Mandalorian. It's good, but the action scenes are boring and predictable. Okay, there's 20 guys and he kills them all, and then we move on. It's like it feels like they throw it in because they have to, because it's a Star Wars, so okay, you have to have the war part, but that's the most boring part of the show to me. The best part is the actual storytelling. And then obviously on the Disney business side that we wanted to talk about, Baby Yoda has been a phenom. And what I don't understand is that Disney had no merchandise plans for this, and they're the kings of merchandising their characters and products and everything. So I don't understand why they were like last minute frantic and they didn't have anything prepared. I guess they didn't think that it would be
I don't know
as big of a phenom as it was.
It's like a Christmas event, so to speak, with the movie coming out on the
show,
all the characters on the show and everything else, and then they just didn't think about it because it's such a cutie little stuffy, I don't know, animal or person,
alien
Yoda, green thing. But that was a big missed. I don't know what they thought they were thinking.
They're doing it now, but it was like they started making these T-shirts that were so ugly because they had no preparation. So what they did was they literally went to the show and just took like a frame from the show and were just printing it on the T-shirt. Wow. So it's just not like the character by itself with it was literally like if I take a picture of the screen and put it on a shirt.
Kind of like make your own T-shirt.
They were using one of those companies that they partnered with. And I was like, really? This is what Disney's
your file
doing.
And then
the biggest merchandise company in the world just took a screenshot of the stream and puts it on a T-shirt.
Well, good luck if you're trying to go to China now with all the trade issues and the Chinese New Year coming up right after New Year's, that all the factories basically disappear for like
in February.
2-3 weeks. Yeah.
But what I do want to say that I think is what I've been saying for a long time about Disney versus Netflix and other streaming channels, that I think a lot of people just don't quite understand, is they only look at the potential of a streaming channel off of the number of subscriptions, because that's basically all of Netflix's revenue, all of any of these new HBO, whatever. They just make money from subscriptions. What Disney does better than everybody, and what they don't understand that Disney Plus will bring to them, is the subscription revenue will be a fraction, a small fraction of what the merchandise revenue will be. And that's what I think people don't understand, because unlike Netflix, for every dollar Disney makes from a subscription, they'll make 4 or 5 in merchandise. And that's why when they say, oh, Disney will soon be making whatever, I think the goal was like $5 billion a year in revenue from subscriptions. I said, if they're able to get to $5 billion in revenue from subscriptions, that means they're doing $20 billion a year extra in merchandise and parks, T-shirts, toys, all of that. That's what Disney does so well, and that's what I've been saying Netflix should do, but they don't. They barely do it. They barely, like, why there is not a multi-billion-dollar merchandise deal for Netflix with some toy company and some clothing company for Stranger Things, I don't understand. It's their biggest IP, and they don't really monetize it, and it drives me nuts. Netflix is very, 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 very smart, but I just don't think that they are maximizing their potential monetization. And people want it. People like merchandise for things that they watch. They have a connection to the Stranger Things characters in the show and the nostalgia. Why are they not flooding the world with Stranger Things merchandise?
I don't know, but as they get more competition now with the
especially as things get tougher, they need to have more revenue streams. I mean, they're not going to get any more subscribers in the U.S. So how do you grow
more
U.S.
subscribers
revenue?
or increase the subscription price, which you cannot do both? I mean, they already increased.
They're already $13 a month.
Yeah, they already are at the
Disney's
competitive price, and then especially when Disney comes with a lower price and Apple and all that stuff. So they're funding a lot of competition now. So it's not just a matter of increasing subscriptions as far as the rate or the price, and then obviously they can get more subscribers when they expand. But it's just.
But in the U.S.,
not in the U.S.,
they're pretty much maxed out. So how do you grow your U.S. revenues? You can't really raise the subscription price much more. Maybe you raise it another $1 a month. But how you see a doubling in the average user value? By merchandising, which is what their biggest weakness has been. And I really, really think that's what their focus should be in the U.S.
Well, it's like all companies. I mean, they have their rise and peak, and then all of a sudden competitors start kind of imitating what they do, and then they start kind of trying to find multiple revenue streams.
Right, but Netflix has a cash flow issue, a profitability issue, and if they merchandise much, much more and get more dollars per user, then that problem goes away. That's what I don't understand. I don't know why they don't focus on that more, especially as competition rises in the U.S. That's the thing that I don't
understand. Biggest
understand.
expenses for all these companies now is creating original content.
Right. So if you create a piece of original content, and obviously it's not like when you make a movie that it goes in the box office so you see the direct, but if you're Netflix and you spend $50 million on a new season of Stranger Things, and you say this $50 million is going to retain a bunch of current subscribers and drive $200 million of new subscriptions. Okay. What if instead of just 200 million of new subscriptions, it also generated a billion in merchandise, which it could? That's the money they're missing. Netflix could easily double their annual revenue if they nailed merchandising like Disney does. And that's the big opportunity for them in my eyes.
All right.
That's my rant for this week.
Okay, yeah, I got it. All right, so what else do we have? Do you want to talk about some books, maybe? I actually, this year, I was just looking right here on the computer to I resuscitated my Kindle. I had a Kindle forever, and I loved it, and then I got so busy that then all of a sudden just ignored the Kindle. I mean, I have it, and every time I was going to use it, it wasn't charged, whatever. I had to charge it, and I read a little bit, left it. But then I started finding some new books that I wanted to read, and again, because I was traveling a lot, I didn't want to carry 2 books or 3 books or 4 books with me, so I just put them on my Kindle, and then depends on what mood what I feel like reading, I would just read one or the other. So anyways, I was just looking at my Kindle alone, and I have some audiobooks also on my phone, but I've probably read like 30 plus books this year. That's pretty decent for me. I mean, that's about 2-3 books per month. So not all of them are great. I mean, obviously, some of the books are books that I like, not top sellers or anything. I hardly ever read, for New York list of bestsellers or anything like that. But I read biographies. I read stories of racing and racers. I read one that was Senna against Prost, which is one of the rivalries of the late 80s, early 90s. I already knew the story. I think I listened to the audiobook, but then I read the book. I read a few other books in racing stuff. That's just basically what I like. But I've also read a few books that are pretty interesting that I feel like, there are fields that I'm interested in, in business or in life or whatever. One of them is the latest book by, I think actually it might be the first book by David Sinclair, the doctor about why we age, about longevity, and on the science side. And that one is a very interesting book. I think we talked about it in one of the previous podcasts.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so that's a good book. I don't want to get too much into it, but if you're interested in why humans age and longevity, I wouldn't call them hacks, but science behind it, compared to, let's say, a jellyfish that could live 150 years, or a whale, or a turtle, or a shark, or whatever. It was very interesting. I actually enjoyed reading the book. And obviously, he's been a guest in a number of podcasts that we listen to, like Rhonda Patrick, or Joe Rogan, or even Tim Ferriss and all that. So you can search his name, and then you'll see a lot of stuff from him. Speaking of cars, I actually read Dan Albert book, which is Are We There Yet? And it has a subtitle like The History of the American Automobile or something, but it's also very interesting because it starts with obviously the beginning of the automobiles, when the cars replaced the horses and all that, and then how the industry shaped out from the first cars and obviously the Fords and everything until the current electric or EV cars, and what he thinks about the future and how that's going to work. And we've also discussed a lot how the manufacturers are going into electric cars, and the industry is moving in that direction aside or away from the fossil fuel traditional combustion engine. So that was a long book, but you are, I don't know if I say a car enthusiast, but just something like a mix of car and history is definitely a good book to read. So I don't know. I mean, trying to see. I'm reading right now another one that is an older book. It's called Awareness, Conversations with the Masters. And this is an older book. I think it was written in the 1970 or something, probably about 50 years ago. And it's a little more philosophical, but it's also a good book. It gives you, like, it's actually easy reading because it's little snippets, little chapters of different facets of life, in which it tells you how your awareness may make you enjoy each moment or each situation in your life a little better if you just are more aware of your environment in general. So it's another good book. I don't know. What you have, David? Any?
This year, I probably read the least amount of books I have in like 5 years.
Really?
For good reason. Obviously, I've been very busy. It's always one of those things where, I think everybody has this like long checklist of things they want to accomplish: work, eat right, exercise, spend time with family, read.
I want to get to that too, about the eat right, exercise, and all that too.
So for me this year, I just said, I always stress myself out like, I'm not reading enough. I want to read more. So this year I said, you know what? It's okay. I'm going to focus. The point for me, the main reason I read these days is to learn about how I can do better at work. And I say, well, I'm doing better at work. I'm doing well at work. And the reason I'm not reading as much as I used to is because I'm so busy at work.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm okay. But the books I did read, the best ones, as far as entertainment value, I think probably a lot of people who are watching this probably have heard of it. The Super Pumped Uber book.
Yeah.
Really good. Really, really entertaining. They're making, if you watch the show Billions, the guys who make that, Brian Koppelman and his partner, who make billions, are going to make a new show about the Uber, basically, the story of Uber. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be good. The book is really good. Definitely give it a read. It's both entertaining, but and listen, Uber's had its troubles, but it is definitely a inspirational story of perseverance. You can say a lot of things about Travis Kalanick, but you can't say that he isn't a dog when it comes to competing and doing whatever it takes to win.
Just 1 second. Speaking of dogs, Shoe Dog is another book that I think that was an audiobook.
Oh, I read that one a few years ago.
I know, that was an older book.
Yeah, that's a great one if you haven't
told me
read
about that one. Phil Knight, obviously the founder of Nike. I think that was an audiobook for me. But that's another story that I really loved about perseverance. And
another great one.
Basically going through every single obstacle.
In that case, the book has a more happy ending than the Uber one.
Yeah. So, sorry, I didn't want to, but you just remind me of that book. That was also very good. I'll definitely recommend it.
So that was probably the most entertaining. As far as other books I read, Loon Shots by Safi Bashal. That one came out this year. It's pretty popular. That one was really good. I really, really, really like that one. If you're into organizational structure and understanding how to create highly functional systems, I know that kind of sounds boring, but he makes it very, very good. Basically, if you're trying to grow a company, read the book. It's very good. Other books, one book I really liked that I know most people, I bet you absolutely nobody watching this or listening has ever read, is, what's the name of it? It's The Probabilistic Foundations of Network Analysis. Something. It's got a long, boring title.
Don't take that book on a date.
The point of the book, if you're into understanding, I've been really obsessed this year with understanding networks and the complexity of networks and how things interact and how to use networks to your advantage. And I mean networks in all senses, not just like a social network that we think of these days, but networks. And actually, the Loon Shots book touches on networks too. In Loon Shots, he talks about like forest fires and how basically how we figured out how to fight forest fires, because really a forest is just a network of trees. So anyways, it's interesting. But this book, Safi Bashal's book, Loon Shots, is very much a bestseller type book. It's for the masses. This book is highly technical, highly mathematical. It's not the type of book you just read from cover to cover. It's the type of book that you kind of go skim through it, read different passages. But it's written by a professor from Rutgers, Harry Crane. Very, very smart. I recommend it, but
that's not a general population.
It's the type of book that you can read it. It's not an easy read. So if you're going to read it, I find it's better to just set out like 2 hours to sit down, 2 hours at a time to just sit down, take a lot of notes. But it's really, really good. And it's probably the most informational book I've read this year. So that's a good one. I'll leave a link to it in the show notes. But I think a lot of people won't read it because it looks very technical, and it is.
It looks very scientific from the
yes,
cover.
Because he goes into the math. The book is filled with equations, but you don't really need to know the actual equations. It's good to see them and kind of work through them. Like, okay, I see what he's doing here. But it's more the explanation and the understanding of how networks work at a fundamental level. The math behind network effects, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I have like 30-something books over here on that list. And I actually, to be honest, I don't think there's a book that I started reading and then I say, this is not what I thought. I don't know if I like some movies from the beginning that are not going to be that good. I mean, every book has peaks and valleys, but I've read them all. And
the other one that I really liked was Ben Horowitz's new book, What You Do Is Who You Are. That one was really good. Because he basically tackles the question of, everyone says when you're building a company, how do you build culture? You need to build a great culture. And he says, when he was a founder, he's like, what does that mean, build a great culture? And he's like, it's not the ping pong tables. It's not the sign you put on the wall. And he basically says, what you do is who you are. Really good. I would give it a read if you're into basically growing a business and setting the culture for the business, setting the expectations.
Setting your team, right.
Yeah. So it's very good. He breaks down a lot of what people mean when they say build a great culture, because that's such a vague term that if you've never built a business before, you're like, what does that mean, build a great culture? So it's a good book for that. That one was really good. Those are probably the best books I've read this year.
All right. So briefly, we mentioned a little bit of longevity, diet, health, lifestyle, and this and that. And we know, I think both of us, I mean, I do a lot of training sports. I actually tried this year quite a bit of cold plunges and swimming up until, I haven't done it the last week or so, I think. But it was first week of December when I was basically jumping in the water at maybe 55 degrees or 56 or something, and swimming for a bit. I mean, it was cold. I mean, people think that when you do an ice bath or something, the water is like 32 degrees, but that's not the case. I mean, what you do is cool down the water to like low 50s. That's what your body can stand. And you can only do it for about 8 minutes before you start feeling like hypothermia and things like that. But you do feel like your body's in shock when you do that. Like you come out and it's almost like a bulk eraser. Like it erases all your whatever, your mind just comes totally refurbished and fresh, no pun intended. But anyway, so that's one of the things that I started trying. And as far as exercise and diet and all that stuff, obviously after reading all these books on life hacks and longevity and why we age and all that stuff, I mean, you realize how much the food industry has been basically selling us what is convenient for them and not exactly what is healthy for humans. So when you go to supermarkets, it's almost impossible, very, very difficult to find food that is actually healthy and you look at the ingredients and they're not even listed properly or anything. So you're really health conscious. You need to, as far as what you put into your body food-wise and nutrition-wise, when you want to perform to the best level, it's a little challenging to see how much confusion there is out there as far as what you can eat. Like you can buy a power bar thinking, oh, it's a protein bar. I've been working out. I'm going to build muscle. And then you look at the ingredients and as you pointed out, I mean, it's like full of stuff that is actually not that good, A
lot of times they have a lot of sugar,
high sugar,
soy,
just
lots of ingredients that you don't need.
Right.
That I think that we didn't understand. Like I used to have lots of soy protein just because it was like a good alternative, like a plant-based protein. I was like, oh yeah, but I didn't realize all of the negative effects on soy, especially if you're a man. You should not be eating a lot of soy because it will have a direct impact on lowering your testosterone, which is obviously, a very important hormone for men. Because it's basically soy. I believe when you eat it, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I believe basically it causes your estrogen levels to rise, which is what women have. Right. And you don't want a lot of estrogen as a man.
But even just on the sugar side, like if you
sugar,
like,
sugar's in everything.
I don't think people have an idea how much sugar they have in their diets. All the processed foods, packaged foods, and everything. And you look at the distribution content. You say, okay, 30 carbohydrates, whatever, 30 grams. You say, oh, that's fine. It's like everything is sugar, basically. It's like even if you try ketchup, has a lot of sugar, and vinaigrette has a lot of sugar. Everything. When you add up and you say, okay, I'm supposed to have like maybe 30, 40 grams of sugar a day or something, it's like, well, you have that just with your first bowl of cereal in the morning, unless you're super careful with that. So orange juice, I mean, it's like, a healthy drink. And then it's like, okay, well, that's basically sugar with a tint of orange, even if they say it's all natural stuff. So, I mean, it's just things that it disappoints you that we have all these regulations with the FDA and all these standards to approve foods and everything, and then they're so obscure. I mean, even the labels are not labeled properly, in the food industry. So that was something that I actually started looking into more as far as nutrition and exercise and all that stuff. I mean, training is always what I do. I mean, you guys know I like mountain biking and karting and racing and all that stuff, but that's part of the equation. The other part is what you put into your body to fuel your body, and you want the best fuel in your body, just like you put the best fuel in your car to perform. And
the funniest thing that
affects a lot.
Not funny, but the example that I learned that kind of shocked me, and that I tell other people when like talking about diet versus exercise, that yes, obviously exercise is very important, but there's a famous case where you had ultra marathon, Ironman run, like top shape people, and they were all getting diabetes. And it's like, how did these people in the top shape of their lives all of a sudden get diabetes? It's like, why? Well, what used to be kind of the famous thing that runners and ultra athletes did, first they would carb load before they would race. So they would eat like a 2,000 calorie meal of pasta and spaghetti and all types of carbs because they knew they would burn that. And then they would also have tons of sugary sports drinks like Gatorade. Even this tells you how bad the sports drinks are. When NBA and all these team, NFL, whatever, you see on the sidelines, they're always drinking Gatorade with the cups. Yeah, no, most of the time they're drinking water or something else because the trainers said, nah, you're not drinking all that sugar. They learned. Right. They don't drink Gatorade anymore.
They just get paid for the label. Then they never drink.
But that tells you, if the real athletes say, I'm not going to have that sugary drink, then you probably shouldn't be drinking it either. Because if anybody can get away with drinking the sugar, it's a professional athlete who works out 10 hours a day.
No, that's not. All right, so let's start wrapping it up. So any final thoughts for the end of the year, comments next year, anything?
Final comments? No, just keep working. That's comment.
Good. All right, guys. Well, this is it for today. Thank you for joining us. Let us know what you think.
Watching, if you actually watched it.
You watched us on video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. This will be, obviously, now that we have video, will be on YouTube and everything else, in addition to the traditional podcast channels for the audio version. But that's it for today. Thank you for listening and watching, and until next time, this is MGR Unplugged. Thank you. Bye-bye.